Welcome to the Boston Bros Political Podcast. I am 𝐓𝐞𝐿 co-host of the show with Boston Herald political columnist Peter Lucas.
Good to
Peter,
be
how
here.
You doing?
Good to be here. Good to see you.
Peter writes 3 columns a week in the Boston Herald. They're must-reads. You had a couple of good ones this week, Peter.
Well, thanks for the plug. There's a lot going on, believe me.
Yes. And I tell you, it's we never have a scarcity of news or something to talk about, and we're going to make it interesting. And we're coming to you this morning first from the InsideLowell studios in downtown Lowell, and we're brought to you by WellPoint. Do I have my little thing here? Here it is. The InsideLowell podcast is coming to you from the WellPoint studios. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Peter, it was just a terrible tragedy. Conservative influencer and podcaster Charlie Kirk was asked to speak at a Utah campus and was shot and killed, assassinated by a 22-year-old. And it just created a stir across the country. Nothing like this has happened where, the response has been where, here he is on a campus, shot, and the political divisiveness in this country just rose to the top on both sides, and what's your take on it?
I reject the both sides argument. I think most of this hate is coming from the left. And this shooter was a leftist. And his brain had been fried going on social media and all the hate websites that conjure up images of disaster and dismay. And this guy's brain was fried. And it's reached a point that I don't call it social media anymore. I call it anti-social media because the internet and everything that goes on in it is a sewer. And it just gins up hate. And that's what this is about, hate.
Yeah. And, the United States in the Constitution were founded on the First Amendment and free speech. And yet some of the really evil comments that have come out on social media after Charlie Kirk's death.
That's my point.
Gleefully, school teachers, college
politicians. Seth Moulton, the congressman from Salem.
Yeah, what was that all? What is he thinking? What is he doing this because he's afraid that the radical Democrats will put a candidate up against them in the primary? Is that all they care about? Is protecting their own hind because of a campaign? I mean,
in his case, he can't stop talking. Well, he just can't stop talking.
Yeah, and then I mean, he says that his family has been threatened. He's got a 7-year-old and 4-year-old daughter, and no one should threaten anyone, especially the congressman, congresswoman, and everything. But he's gone the other way. Remember his comments about transgender? He didn't want a man playing, against his daughters, and then he took a step backwards after they threatened to go after him in a primary.
He folded like a cheap suitcase.
Yeah. And now it seems like he just can't. He's doing everything he can to put himself right on that radical edge. He's catering to that primary crowd the activists who vote in primaries. And I would think, this is a guy who challenged an incumbent congressman, John Taney, who'd been in Congress for more than a decade. Okay, so he knows what it is, when the time comes to challenge him. He should be accepting challenges from the radical left and saying, hey, you know what? Let's put our policies on the line. What you stand for and I stand for. No, but Democrats like Seth Moulton are afraid of challenges. Okay, they're afraid to be exposed for what they really are, and that's hypocrites.
Well, he's backing off on his latest remarks, his vile comments about Charlie Kirk and the assassination. I have to point out, he was only outdone by Maura, the new member of the Governor's Council, who was even more vicious in her comments than most Democrats were, calling Charlie Kirk, after he's dead, after he's been assassinated, calling him a racist and a homophobic, and, accusing him of everything that he is not or was not.
Yes.
It's a disgrace.
Vicious lies. And, when that played out on the national scene, it was amazing how many people in different, in different social and groups, the gay groups came out and said he had a lot of gay friends. Okay, he was a Christian and stuff, but he regularly talked with these people, was on panels with them. He had them over for dinner at his house, he and his wife. And
It's reached a point the leftists have even made Christianity a crime in their eyes.
No, it's
just
amazing.
Terrible.
And all this stuff comes out at the end, and people looking upon this, oh, well, here's one less conservative we have to deal with. And then you get the whole uproar over, President Trump ordered the federal flags, lowered to half staff because of Charlie Kirk's death. He was a really good friend of Trump's, and they talked regularly. Charlie Kirk had a big, great following, and more young people were going over to Charlie Kirk's side. That's the other story about this. How a lot of young people now are sick and tired of the Democrats' one way of thinking, and that all conservatives are terrible. And there's more young people on college campuses who favored Democrats, but are now joining the Republican side and registering as Republicans, because Republicans offer solutions.
Rather than hate, Charlie Kirk was talking about love, Christianity. He was lighting a fire among many young people, pointing out that their lives have meaning and purpose and so on, and that's what he was assassinated for. It's disgraceful.
Yeah. And
think back. We've been around for a while. This reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder from the left has been so hateful. Think back. We never had this type of hate when we've had other assassinations, like Robert F. Kennedy, when he was killed in California, or Martin Luther King, or even Jack Kennedy in Dallas in 1963. We didn't have this hateful reaction among American people that we have today. It's a dark, dark picture of this country, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it seems to be getting worse. There are no answers because the people on both extremes just keep pulling further and further away, and the people in the middle are too. I don't know. They're just too afraid to make their voices heard and to crack down on these fringe activists on both sides. Trying to control the agenda.
I have to point out the Democrats in Massachusetts had a issues convention in Springfield over the weekend. Although nobody noticed, except we junkies. But at any rate, I was kind of pleased and to see how Governor Maura Healey set a moderate tone when she talked about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and pointed out how it is not just unacceptable for something like that to happen in this country. And also, Congressman Richard Neal of Springfield, who was a host at the convention, said about the same thing. And they set a tone at the convention that put a damper on any of this nasty verbiage just coming from the left regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. So that was a good sign. That was a good sign.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that reaction, but first of all, I want to finish my point about the lowering the flags to half staff. I mean, I got to give Maura Healey credit, the governor, because the flags in Massachusetts were lowered to half staff, and there's a statute in Massachusetts that when the president of the United States, no matter what party, orders the flags lowered, okay, that the states will comply. And so Maura Healey did that, all right? Now, some people in some quarters were upset because it was a conservative. And I got to give partial credit to Attorney General Angela Campbell. She raised the point that, the people should know the reason. There should be an explanation why Maura Healey did that. Okay, she wanted to bring up the point that it was a federal statute. I think implying that if she were a governor and the federal directive came down, I don't know if she would have wholeheartedly embraced it or whatever, but she did make a point, and it is true, that when the federal government does it, the president orders it, states are to comply. So the other point that she brought up, which I think is a fair point, this is Andrea Campbell. She wrote that, well, if President Trump wanted to be consistent that he was against political divisiveness, why didn't he order the federal flags lowered at half staff when the Minnesota State Speaker of the House, I think it was Melanie Hortman. Was that her name first? I knew Hortman was her last name. And her husband were murdered in Minnesota, and that was over a divisive political issue. She was one of the only Democrats in the Minnesota House to vote according to with Trump's plan, to basically to close the border and to crack down on illegal immigration. And the person who killed her and her husband, assassinated them, was basically responded to that vote, and that's why she was killed. So, it goes both ways. I mean, whether they're Americans, Democrats, or Republicans, they should be honored for their service. And in this case, I have to agree with Andrea Campbell that president should have been consistent with lowering the flags. What do you think?
You can't lower the flag after every murder.
Yeah, but this was a big one.
The thing out there was more personal, and Charlie Kirk's was a national event.
Yeah.
So wipes with his.
Okay, but we can agree to disagree, and we didn't punch each other. See? You see that? Okay, so let's go back to this convention.
Not yet.
So let's go, Peter. I was overwhelmed when I read that there had been a state Democratic convention. I read about it in Tuesdays in my local newspaper, the Lowell Sun, on a Tuesday. It was held over the weekend. Now, I remember when I was editor of the Sun and you were a correspondent, you used to ask me, will the Sun pay for me to go down to Springfield, cover the convention? And we did that for several years. Yes, we used to send a reporter and cover was big dealings and stuff. Now, there was no coverage. No one even knew that there was a convention.
No, hardly any coverage. Neither Boston paper had a story the next day. Now they're trying to play catch up, but they're not even using their own reporters, but they're using the State House News Service and other services. But, it's understandable in a way because there were no contests. Everybody in Massachusetts, all the office holders are Democrats. And they end up talking to each other. And it doesn't make much news.
Yeah, but it was a time to crow about Michelle Wu, the mayor, her big, overwhelming victory in Boston. And she wasn't even there, the star.
I wrote about it.
I know, the star of the Democrat Party.
Make way for Wu. She's the most popular Democrat in Massachusetts right now, and she didn't show up. So maybe she doesn't need the convention.
Where does Wu go from here? I mean, okay, she's still facing a November election, but Jonathan Kraft, he has stepped down. Okay, he's not going to run.
He's put on waivers.
Yeah, he's been put on waivers, as you said, and he finished second in the race. He was certainly eligible to run in the November runoff, but she clobbered him by what, 50 over 50 points.
If Wu should be reelected, but there are no openings. The governor's running for reelection, and her term will run till 2030. Wu could run for governor then. Or if 𝐓𝐡𝐞 steps down, which I think is unlikely, she'd be a natural to be a candidate for that. Other than that, that's up in 2026. Other than that, Elizabeth Warren will be up for reelection in 2030. She'll be 81 years old by then. So maybe Wu would be a potential replacement for Elizabeth Warren. Or even if Warren stepped down, Wu would be a potential candidate for the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
I think Wu has a great future in the Democratic Party, even though traditionally mayor of Boston have not done very well statewide in Massachusetts.
I think your column, I think you made this point in your column, and I love to read your columns for the insights. I mean, I didn't realize that Wu was from Chicago, right?
Oh, yeah, everybody in Massachusetts is
Paul Patrick's from Chicago. Everybody comes from Chicago. Trump sends the troops to Chicago. I said, everybody leaves Chicago to come to Massachusetts to get away from the violence and other things. And it's amazing. But you...
No, but 𝐓𝐡𝐞 is from Malden.
Oh, okay,
Although
yeah. Maybe he hasn't been there in 20 years, 30 years. But you made a good point. I mean, there was certainly enough issues for Kraft to go after, exploit Wu on bike lanes, affordability, jobs, other things. Business community didn't seem to be very happy with some of her policies. But you mentioned how when she went before Congress, I mean, she was a star. She took on, the Republicans questioned her, very, very grilled her, and she stood up to them, on immigration, on policies and sanctuary city policies. She had the ashes for it was Ash Wednesday. She had the ashes on her forehead. She had a prop. She had a baby. You talked about that. The prop. How are you going to be against that? It was classic. And she was, I mean, very intelligent, smart.
Actually, George Kraft is an asset to the city, and he would be a good mayor if he ever got to the office. Yeah. However, he should have been running for the city council.
Yeah.
Once term there or 2 terms there, he could have succeeded Wu. She will not be running for a 3rd term. And he was running against a pro, despite her benign, juvenile looks. She's a tough cookie. Yeah. She's been running for Boston. She served on the Boston City Council for 4 terms. I mean, that's like surviving the Normandy invasion, And she emerged from that and ran for governor. Josh Kraft needed a term or 2 in a city council.
I agree.
To establish himself.
Very, very apparent.
And he would be a good mayor.
Yeah. And my apologies to Jonathan Kraft. I mentioned I confused once again Josh and Jonathan, but yes, Josh Kraft. And it seems like a likable guy. He's worked so hard in the nonprofits and given a lot of money and stuff. But that alone does not get you into the political sphere and a lot of traction. You've got to be able to relate. And Wu is probably one of the best at doing that with the communities that she serves. And you think that she'll play well in a broader election throughout Massachusetts?
Absolutely. Because not only of her experience, her talent, and but she's a minority, a person of color, as we say these days, and knows how to campaign.
What happens if Trump sends federal troops, the National Guard, into Boston? What does Wu do?
Wu will stand up. She'll probably get arrested. It's a controversial issue, and you're not going to stop Trump. I don't think he'll use the National Guard in Massachusetts, but I think he, as he is doing now, using agents from the ICE and from other federal agencies to arrest violent criminal immigrants and deport them.
Well, I gotta give Wu a credit for one thing anyway. Around the state, most politicians, Democrat politicians, are avoiding the issues. They always talk about who's going to stand up to Trump. We got to stand up to Trump. I mean, Wu is facing city issues in Boston, from lack of housing, affordability, issues with the business. She's always battling with the North End restaurant owners, bike lanes, colleges, nonprofits.
She carried the North End, by the way.
Yeah, she did.
Despite her fight with the restaurants.
So all these little things add up, because she knows how to deal with people, and she's learning to negotiate, and she's tackling these tough issues. Whether she finds the right solutions, I don't know. But on the state level, going back to the convention, I mean, the two Republican candidates for governor, Brian Shortsleeve and Mike Keneally, keep hammering away on the many issues that Massachusetts is facing. We have the least competitive economy in the country, sky-high energy costs, the problems with the shelters, with neglecting the crimes that took place in the shelters, burdening the system with over $2 billion and still paying to house illegal immigrants. And then and at the convention, all the governor wanted to do was keep saying, it's about standing up to Trump. And I'll read a quote here. She says, neither Keneally nor Shortsleeve, quote, will stand up to Donald Trump. I will. If you're not willing to stand up to Donald Trump, heck, if you're not able to say it's wrong to take food from babies, it's wrong to fire veterans, it's wrong to defund public education, if you won't so much as lift a finger or utter a word to protect people's health care, then you should never be governor of this great Commonwealth. So
my question is, wouldn't it be better for Massachusetts if she could work with Trump rather than attack him?
You've written columns about it. We've said it on the show. Yes.
Isn't politics the art of compromise and getting together to solve problems? This constant attack on Trump gets you nowhere. It may get her reelected, but she's going to get reelected anyway.
And it just leads into this this political divisiveness that is just shredding the country. I mean, all she wants to do is, and other Democrats, is talk about Trump and his policies. When we have our own issues in Massachusetts, God, we can't even come up with a new seal for the flag or a motto, and I don't even know why. You know what they said? There's a phrase: "Leave bad enough alone." Well, there was nothing wrong.
Don't fix it. If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with the seal. If anything, you want to do is take off the colonist sword that's over the Native American head. But that thing has stood the test of time, and yet people go on, activists, a small group, and then they start.
Well, they say it's racist. They say it's racist because there's a Native American in the state seal holding a bow and arrow, and there's a sword above it, which is some critics say it's a threatening image. Being held over the Native American.
Well, so the thing is, people don't even understand what the flag represents and the motto on it. Now,
I have a solution. I would take the Native American and his bow and arrow out of the state seal and put in Miles Standish with a musket, and above the image where there is an arm with a sword, I put an arm with a tomahawk, and change everything around.
Well, it sounds good, but I don't think the way Massachusetts is constituted right now that they'd go with putting a white man on the flag. You know, it's just sad, but
they would if the tomahawk was there too.
Oh, if the tomahawk was there too. Okay, so that's. But when you come up with three proposals that don't say anything about the state, aren't even reflective of the state, and that's what this flag commission is dealing with right now. They're going to start going around the state for public meetings and stuff. If you can't come up with something better, why go through it? I hope Governor Healey and the legislature has the courage to say, hey, these things really don't inspire anything about Massachusetts or to the populace, and whether you're going to start over or do this all over again. But it's incredible where they're going down the rabbit hole with this commission. So, and this might even be an election issue.
I think it's going to be an election issue. You know, this all started in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, when they started tearing down Confederate statues and demanding to change names of military bases and you know, rioting and so on and so forth. This commission was created right after that, and it feels compelled to come up with something, even though the recommendations are idiotic.
Yeah. So I go back to candidate Keneally from the GOP. He in response to Governor Healey's comments at the convention about standing up to Donald Trump, he writes, he said, it's no surprise her campaign will center around deflecting attention towards national politics. You know, after he cited all these things about, you know, Massachusetts having the least competitive economy and one of the least affordable states in the nation. So do you think the Republican challenges can get some traction from some of these issues that are slowly rising to the top?
If they keep reading my column. No, that sounds like one of my columns, but I think they can gain traction, but it's much too early. I mean, it's a long way away. And I think we need more debates between the Keneally and Short-Sleeve. And I think if they're wise, they will make an arrangement. They both can't be running for governor.
Yeah.
And they'll only damage each other. They have to come to some sort of agreement, have one run for governor and the other run for lieutenant governor, and have a unified ticket going into a convention, into a primary, and into the general election.
Yeah.
That is, I think, one way to do it, probably the only way, for them to get together and to defeat Maura Healey, who's going to be in a very strong position come re-election time.
Yeah. Well, you know, a week ago, we our show came out on Wednesday. The following day was the 24th anniversary of the attacks 9/11. And it brought up it exposed a lot of things about our own country and our state. I mean, I was shocked to learn in several stories, both in the Herald and the Globe, about the lack of education. 9/11 isn't even included in the mandatory curriculum for the state of Massachusetts. Now, Governor Healey came out, and I endorse what she said. She says, hey, this should be part of the curriculum. And, you know, of course, the teachers union was totally silent. They'll have to do, you know, they probably have to do some more work and exercise.
Jim, two of the planes that crashed into the buildings came from Logan Airport.
206 Massachusetts people died on that day. Okay, and we've got children growing up not even know anything about it. When they hear 9/11, it doesn't mean anything to them. That is a travesty.
It is.
Really is. Okay, and you have the Amy Sweeney Award. She was right up here from she was the flight attendant. She was the first one who made the call from the plane to alert federal authorities the plane was hijacked. You know, right out of Logan. She gave her life. And, you know, every year the state gives the Amy Sweeney Award, okay, to someone courageous in the line of duty. And it's just amazing that we don't teach our children about what transpired and the values of America and what these Massachusetts people, many of them ordinary people, but even the pilot of the plane, John 𝐂𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐚𝐬, served the country. He was a pilot of one of the planes that left out of Logan Airport. He lived in Drake, and he was the gentleman farmer.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
What I found among many young people, including journalists, if something happened when they were alive, if it didn't happen during their lifetime, it didn't happen. It's like it didn't happen. No, really. And, I've had journalists, come to me and talking about various issues, and I'll bring up a subject matter, and I'll say, well, this is the way it happened. They said, well, I wasn't around then. And I say, well, I wasn't around when Rome fell, but I know something about it.
Yeah.
But that seems to be a great void that they're not interested in anything that is not happening while they're alive.
Well, it's unacceptable, especially that the Massachusetts Teachers Association is so anti-America in some issues. And I'm talking about the leadership, not the vast body of teachers, although they don't seem to care. Because if I was a school teacher today, and especially a history teacher, I'd be advocating for something during the course of the year to talk about 9/11 and what transpired.
The leaders of the teachers' unions are not teachers; they're politicians. That's the problem.
And it also came out, there was a report last week, a national report from a private group that did surveys on college campuses throughout the country. You wonder why there's so much a lack of gentlemanly discourse on college campuses. Well, it talked about that college campuses do more to suppress free speech, throughout the country than actually advocate for it. In 16 Massachusetts colleges, most of them the privates, but UMass Amherst was on the list of one of the 16, have the worst rankings, some of the worst rankings among the worst in the United States. This group recognized that there were 267 colleges and universities across the United States where they do all they can to suppress free speech, and they do it in different ways by once again, a conservative or a liberal speaker is invited to the campus. Two people stand up and said, we don't want them. So and mostly it's against Republicans and conservative college groups. And
the media does it too.
Yeah, and they deny them. They take away the invitation. So the other opposing views aren't heard. The debates aren't held. I mean, it's amazing. Even campus newspapers now. They don't even, the school administrations are dictating what they can write in their newspapers. They can't cover certain things. I mean, this is crazy. It's not China. This is the United States of America. And telling young journalists or journalist wannabes that they can't write investigative stories. It's incredible.
When is the last time you saw a story on page 1 of the Boston Globe regarding a victim of a violent, illegal immigrant criminal? You don't see that. You'll see a sob story about an immigrant getting a family being broken up and being deported, but you never see a story about a victim.
No, they give you the story about the suspect, that what turned him into a would-be criminal, how he came or she came here from a country where neglect.
Or even
you get that.
Even this assassin in Charlie Kirk's case, where members of the media are sympathizing with the roommate and with the assassin because of their love affair that took place between them. And they're trying to conjure up sympathy for these two individuals, the assassin and his roommate, because they were young lovers. It's just sickening.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that has changed, you don't get the two sides of the story, the whole story anymore. But I served as a trustee for 7 years at Middlesex Community College, good school. But when I was the editor of the Sun, we used to have a program, an internship program with Middlesex, because they had an award-winning newspaper at the time. It was run by Professor Rose Sergi, and they were always going up, because I was president of the Massachusetts Editors Association for 2 years, and we used to run contests for college newspapers. We used to recognize the best writing and the best college newspapers. These were run by students and written by students. And Middlesex one year beat the Harvard Crimson for the top newspaper in the state of Massachusetts. Oh, well, it was a New England contest. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was the New England Press Association. So we ended up hiring 2 of their reporters when they graduated. Okay, and they had 2-year degrees, and they went on to get their 4-year degree. But we hired them, and then a couple of years later, Middlesex did away with the program. You know why?
Why?
Because they did an investigative story on the school doing a backdoor deal to acquire some buildings on Middle Street in downtown Lowell. Now, there was nothing wrong with the deal, but the president at the time, 𝐂𝐚𝐬, didn't want the story released and details about it and how they were going to get financing and funding and stuff like that. So, I mean, his student journalists, basically uncovering a story, doing their job and stuff. And because of that, it created a schism in the college. I guess 𝐂𝐚𝐬 and her cabinet didn't want student journalists nosing around, But I asked to revive, while I was on the board, to revive the newspaper for the point that, how are kids supposed to learn to relate to people, get the other side of the story, to communicate, okay, and to be critical thinkers? And the president of the college, Phil Sisson, said to me, "Oh, we got a communications department for that." I said, "That's not the same. That's not the same." But that's happening throughout Massachusetts and throughout the nation.
Absolutely.
That's what it means about suppressing student expression on campus. And that's why you get these fringe groups who activate on a campus and, take over social media and stuff.
Whatever happened to the old saying that people would say, "I disagree with you, but I will defend your right to say what you believe"?
Yeah.
That is gone.
Right.
You can't do that anymore because you'll get a punch in the face.
Yes. Well, that's what it comes to now. You can't meet in the middle anywhere, and it's a shame. So one thing I just want to talk a little bit about this Luigi Mangione case. He went to trial. Well, he went before the court to set his trial dates and stuff. He was charged with assassinating United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And this was on December 4th, 2024. And Mangione basically did it because, rising healthcare costs and everything else associated with the medical and healthcare industry. He took it on. He took out all his rage and hate against this CEO who was just walking down the street in New York City, and he shot him. But my reaction to it is, he went to court. There were actually a throng of young women and other people, they called them hot throbs, who were supporting Mangione. Free him. He was a hero.
This is a case of a kid shooting a man in the back.
Yeah.
And they are praising him, supporting him, raising money for his defense. It is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. Mangione is 27. He's Ivy League educated, okay? Comes from a pretty decent family and stuff, background. And I just couldn't believe it. They're going to make this guy a hero. They're already looking for the defenses that he was basically defending the American people against rising healthcare costs. You never know what he's going to get for jury of his peers.
You watch, it's liable to happen, the same thing to Tyler Robinson, the accused assassination.
Well, they've already started.
Yeah.
That he was a conduit for someone else. Okay, to do this, they've already started. And where's the evidence that he actually pulled the trigger? And I mean, there's video and everything else. All these things are starting to circulate on social media and stuff. And
there's the trans angle too.
yeah, yeah. So, but you got you have to watch this this thing or what happens. But you have to say to yourself, what is wrong with this country? The guy has admitted, Mangione has admitted to killing Thompson and the reasons for his agenda and why he did it. And he has to get a fair trial. That's the Constitution, and he deserves one. But I can't believe the swarms of people who are rallying to his side over cold-blooded murder in the streets of Manhattan. It's terrible.
And absolutely no sympathy for the victim.
No sympathy whatsoever, because he was a successful CEO.
How cruel is that?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't like rising healthcare costs either, but am I going to go shoot my doctor, the nurses, or the CEO?
No, he'll shoot you if you don't pay a bill.
All right. I just wanted to keep me healthy. That's it. All right. So we didn't have any Putin-Trump talk this week.
You know,
quickly. Peter, I'm getting a little frustrated here. I agree with Donald Trump and on a lot of things, but I don't know why he is wavering on Putin. Putin is evil. He seems like he's stringing the president along, and I don't know what Trump's plan A is to deal with this situation, Ukraine and Russia.
Putin is a war criminal. He's a criminal. He's a murderer. He's murdering women and children with this drone attack on Ukraine. He's been indicted as a war criminal by the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and he can't go anywhere outside of China and the U.S. and Russia because he'd be arrested because he's a criminal.
But do you think that this was a mistake from the Russian generals to send drones over Poland's sovereign airspace?
No, I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they think they can buffalo the President of the United States, Donald Trump, just as Putin has conned the past 4 presidents before Trump. And he's always gotten his way. And you remember George Bush saying, I looked into his eyes and Putin's eyes and I could see his soul. And, you know, he's a con man.
He doesn't have a soul.
He's a con man and a criminal. And he's getting his way.
Bush was wrong. And what I can't understand here is that more people are dying, and Trump is just giving this guy too much leash. Even Republicans and Democrats are both upset, and they want harsher sanctions.
Look at Trump during the campaign. He said he would end this war in 24 hours. You know, and he's met with Putin, and Putin is eating his lunch.
Well, you know, the wine goddess and I, as my wife, we like to go back and watch old films and old series, and we recently watched The Winds of War, Herman Wouk's novel, but then they did the television series. Robert Mitchum starred in it. Ralph Bellamy was a great FDR, you know, and Polly Bergen. But anyway, you know, the story takes place starting in 1938, the rise of nationalism in Germany and Adolf Hitler. Takes it right up to the attack on Pearl Harbor, when the U.S. then finally declares war on Japan, and then shortly thereafter, Germany and the Axis, Italy, and everything else. But this series is interesting because, you know, no one thought that Adolf Hitler would keep expanding. He annexed Czechoslovakia. Then the next thing, he invades Poland, and the French, you know, say, oh, he won't go any further than that. And Neville Chamberlain from England, oh, you know, signs a non-aggression pact and stuff. And Hitler just kept pushing. He even signed the non-aggression pact with the Russians and Stalin. Then he invaded Stalin. He invaded France, crushed the Maginot Line, and the next thing you know, the Germans have 3/4 of Europe under their under their control. And I just see Putin doing the same thing, just pushing all the buttons and going further and further.
Putin, like Hitler, is pushing the boundaries to see how far he can go.
Right.
He's got Ukraine. Now he's testing Poland. And who knows what's going to happen to the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia. And they were Estonia. They were part of Russia at one time. And Putin is trying to reconstruct the Russian Empire and what he's doing. And we're allowing it to happen.
Wow.
It's just amazing.
Do you think Trump at this he's in United Kingdom right now, and I guess he was supposed to meet with Starmer, the Prime Minister of England. I mean, hopefully something will be resolved. This is ridiculous.
Well, the problem is Trump has raised expectations to the level that he doesn't seem to be able to deliver on. He practically said he'd bring Putin to his knees with economic sanctions. Nothing has happened.
Yeah.
And Putin keeps advancing and testing. And don't forget, under NATO and what they call the Article 5, the United States is incumbent upon coming to the defense of any NATO nation that is invaded by Russia. And that means war. That means war. And I don't think it'll come to that, but you never know. It's a volatile situation.
Yeah.
And it's sad because Putin is not killing soldiers as much as he's killing women and children with these drones and these missiles on cities and on hospitals and buildings, housings. It's just terrible, terrible.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of this show, and we got to do my Hypocrite of the Week segment quickly. Okay, there are a lot of choices out there. The last week, I mean, you could throw a dot at a newspaper or at a TV show at night. But my best was Hypocrite of the Week. We know that Zoran Mamdani, the socialist running for mayor in New York City, he's a Democrat. He's anti-Semitic. He wants to defund the police, create government-run grocery stores, tax the rich only, and put in place rent control measures where he sees fit. Okay. Everything he stands for, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, is against. But yet, this past week in the New York Times, she wrote an op-ed endorsing the socialist, anti-Semite Zoran Mamdani for New York City mayor. And the reason why? She says, well, I know I disagree with him with almost 99% of his socialist agenda, okay? But he will, quote, stand up to Donald Trump and fight him all the way. I mean, what crap. What a hypocrite. Yeah. I mean, here's another Democrat, okay, that's all they got going for them. Okay, with Trump. All the issues that New York state faces in the city, they're losing businesses. People, millionaires, are fleeing the city and stuff. And she backs the socialists who I would believe 65% of New Yorkers are against what he stands for. Take out New York City. I mean, you got the suburbs and everything else. And she's just doing this because you know why? She's hoping for a deal where they won't put up, the radical left won't put up a candidate against her in her primary next year.
Right.
So, and they make no bones about it. And this is the only reason why she's doing it, to watch her flank. So she's my hypocrite of the week. What do you think?
Well, she's cynical. She should be a cynical critic of the week. It's deplorable, but it's Democrat politics these days. I'd just like to give a shout out to this woman by the name of Ann Brensley of Wayland. She's a selectman, and she's running for the Republican nomination for lieutenant governor. She's 44 years old, born in Honduras, adopted when she was 2 years old, and brought up in the United States. And she's announcing her candidacy for lieutenant governor. in Brensley.
What do you think?
Well,
Interesting.
it's interesting that someone is running for lieutenant governor so early, so far, and I wish her luck.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
You going to do a column on her?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. What do you got planned for this week? Anything interesting? You can give us a little.
We're going to do something on the state seal, and tomorrow we're writing about the Democratic convention that nobody knows anything about, including me.
So that should be good reading. Okay. So that takes care of it. We covered a lot of ground. Okay, and that's one thing we do here. So Peter, until we meet again next week, have a great week.
Okay, thank you.
This is Jim Campanini, Peter Lucas, signing off.